Hey everyone, Spicy Toast Gaming here. Hope you're having a great day, and I hope this video can make it a little bit better. Today we're going to be doing a bit of a discussion video, breaking down all the new stuff we got in the patch, and just going over our thoughts on them now that we've had the chance to play them for a good amount of time. Now we're going to start off with Caitlyn, and she is a interesting one. Now on paper, she seems like she's going to be the most incredible broken champion. Her starting deck is so well made and put together. There's like no dead or bad cards here at all. They all work exceptionally well. The upgrades you get in your champion levels, also really good. Your Constellation and your star powers, very, very strong. Like some of these seem like they're just giving you so much power. And with all this, I thought she was going to be completely broken, one of the just strongest champions in the game. But she actually does feel balanced, which is very nice. The fact that they can give you so many powerful upgrades throughout all aspects of the character, but the character still feels like a balanced champion and not too overpowered, where it just makes it feel like you have to choose this champion over other champions. I think Caitlyn is actually a great addition in that aspect, because there's a lot of other champions that they're already really strong, and so a lot of the upgrades in their Constellation seem kind of mediocre, where here a lot of these different upgrades are all exceptional. Even these bonus nodes, like your support champions having Sheriff of Piltover, that's absolutely massive. House Swamp having Shadow Totem, crazy. Every single follower you acquire in Adventure all having Flash Bomb Satchel. Each one of these is impactful and meaningful. And that's not the case for all constellations. Some of them have powers or upgrades where you really don't care about them at all. But for Caitlyn, that is not the case. They did a really great job here, giving you impactful and meaningful upgrades, but not making the champion just flat out more broken than everyone else. So for me, I think they did a great job. And I know there's going to be some people that just want every champion to be the most broken, but that's just going to bring a lot of power creep into the game and end up making it a worse experience. So for Caitlyn and her design, they did a very good job. Now, her relic is an interesting one, though. The Hextech Rifle. Now, this is a great relic, and I was a bit worried it was going to be too good. So what it does, power, so Caitlyn doesn't even need to be on the board. Game start, plant 6 Flash Bomb traps in the top 8 cards of the enemy deck. When a Flash Bomb trap misses, plant it back in the top 8 cards of the enemy deck. So essentially, your traps never miss, and even if your trap activates to kill a target, but other traps already killed it, those extra traps also get shuffled back. So essentially, none of your traps are ever wasted. Now, this is an incredibly powerful effect, and I was worried that this was going to really outshine all other relics, and you feel like you're going to have to take this with your Caitlyn. But I went through some matches, and I tested Caitlyn out without using this, and since my Caitlyn is 6-star, I intentionally handicapped myself, so I only used rare relic builds. And then for the Constellation, I didn't ever play the Ace in the Hole. So essentially, this was just making a dead card for me that I couldn't interact with. And then I also never played my support champion because this Sheriff of Piltover is an incredibly powerful effect. So my support champions were also dead cards, and I was still able to clear both Aurelion Sol and Lysandra. So while her relic is very, very good, don't feel like you have to get it for your Caitlyn, and don't at all feel like it is mandatory. Now, that being said, it is still quite good, and it is also very niche, because really you're only going to use this on Caitlyn, or potentially for some encounters in like the monthly challenges, but in general, this is going to be one of the most niche relics in the game. Now, I personally would still prefer this over something like Nora's Portal Accelerator, which again is something super niche you only really use on Nora, and while it does have a powerful effect of that extra starting mana and impact, it is still a little bit too boring in my opinion. So if you're going to have a relic that is only usable on your champion, I do like the fact that it is interesting in my opinion, but I do think the Hextech Rifle is getting maybe a little bit close to the line of just being too overpowered, because we really don't want a situation where the epic relic that comes with the champion feels mandatory, it feels like you have to get it. This is probably closer to any other champion-specific relic, other than maybe the old Starforged Gauntlets. So I do think that's something Riot needs to be careful of. But I am happy that I was able to test this out, or test out Caitlyn without this relic, intentionally trying to handicap myself, and still was able to clear some of the toughest challenges in the game. So just know, if you're considering buying this relic, it is still solid, it's absolutely fantastic for Caitlyn, but don't feel like you have to get it in order to succeed. Now let's talk about Vi's relic, and I think this is actually a much better designed relic than the Hex Tech rifle. So 3 impact, play if I have 10 or more power, give me barrier, start a free attack challenging the strongest enemy. Now this is great because it's obviously themed around Vi, it pairs with Vi exceptionally well, but you can actually use this on a wide range of champions. I personally have used this on Darius, Elder Dragon, as well as Ornn, and all the people that I've played it on, it felt very good, but it didn't feel mandatory. You're having to actually make a trade-off on if you wanted to use this or if you wanted to use something else that was also very strong. Now, for a lot of the champions that can use this, you're having to make the determining factor of, do I want to use this or do I want to use Starforged Gauntlets? Starforged Gauntlets giving you that +1 starting mana, just speeding up your entire game plan, but with Cease and Desist, you have an incredibly powerful effect when you actually play your champion. And so it felt really good playing with this, as it was just another option. It wasn't outshining the other relics, you had to choose one or the other. It was just giving you a different choice, which I think that is what we really should shoot for whenever we're making one of these relics. Something that gives you a interesting choice, but not something that's just flat out better than all the other relics. So while Hex Tech Rifle is very fun, it does get close to being just too overpowered or feeling too necessary for the champion. And it's also incredibly niche where only the champion can really use it. Now, I will say that it is fine for some champion relics to only be usable with that champion in situations like this where Caitlyn's all about flash bomb traps, so this is a flash bomb trap relic. And of course, no other champions use flash bomb traps, so makes sense. Obviously, I still prefer when relics are like this, where they work best on a specific champion but can be used by the general audience. But I do think in some scenarios, such as like Caitlyn, it makes sense that the relic is only really usable by that champion. While we're talking about relics though, we can look at the other relics that also got added in. Now for these epic relics, they did an excellent job with really hitting pretty much every single champion in the game. Just about every single champion wants to play with one of these relics, and they really enable a different play style. So Big Gun's pretty simple and straightforward. It's just giving you a upgrade to Ludens. Now it's not a upgrade in all scenarios, because if you want to stack multiple of your champion to get the effect going off, then Ludens is still going to be better. But still, if you just want the passive effect of Ludens, there is that, so plenty of champions use Ludens, so they could utilize this. Hidden Tome, it's more than just a upgrade to Lost Chapter, and also makes you really care about your support champion a little bit more. And this is one that can really help many early game champions, but overall it's a pretty broad relic a lot of people can use. Frozen Tomb, now this is one that is going to be a little bit more on the niche side, but this is going to be a very interesting relic to throw on, and it's going to play very differently than all other relics we really have, giving you a guaranteed way to get your champion on the board round 1, even if they are stuck in a landmark for a couple rounds. Very interesting addition to the game. And then we even have some relics that are focusing on a passive relic build, which is excellent because, yeah, there's some champions where you don't really want to have any relics on them to buff them up. You want to focus and have a more passive build, so that is absolutely awesome. But then we have other builds like Living Weapon that can really improve early game champions, and then Black Shield that can be a good utility, especially in specific adventures. I think the layout of the different relics that they added is great because it's just hitting almost all different types of build throughout the entire game, and pretty much no matter what champion you're playing, one of these relics should be appealing to you. Now, it will take a little bit to get them all. If you're wondering how I have so many so fast, my Golden Reliquary was still active when the patch hit, so I was able to buy one immediately, but its cooldown was about to finish, so I was able to buy another one there shortly thereafter, and then I got 2 from the old bundles for some of the champions when Constellations first came out. Overall, though, I find these relics to all be interesting, and I think we're going to have a lot of different build crafting opportunities, and it's really spicing up how we want to play all of our different champions, since pretty much every single champion now has new builds they can try to play with, which is very exciting. Next up, let's talk about Vi, and I think Vi, they actually did an excellent job of keeping what the champion originally felt like and improving it, upgrading it, but maintaining that exact same play style. Now, they said that for Vi, they wanted someone that was still simple and straightforward to play, that you could just be playing your cards and still be getting the passive benefits. But with the powers, they're now a little bit more interactable, that you can actually play and build around them and get a lot more benefit from them as you understand the game more and more. Now, the way they upgraded her initial star powers, just when you draw a card, grant your strongest ally 2 health and 2 impact. This is excellent because it used to just be a round start effect. Now this essentially still is a round start effect because you draw a card at the start of the round. But now if you play around this with extra draw, you now can get way more power out of this than you ever could before. And then the other powers they added, just flat out overwhelm, mana flow, and then when you play a card, grant allies 1 power. Again, very nice, simple, passive effects that you can still play around because with Vi, you're all about spamming out a whole bunch of cheap cards. But this is still very much a beginner-friendly champion, which is what they wanted, and I think they really nailed it here. Now, as far as the bonus stars, they are nice. They're not as incredible as like with Caitlyn. With Caitlyn, every single upgrade, you're like, man, that seems absolutely crazy. But this does work out quite well. Your support champions having Wriggle's Lantern, I think this is actually quite good because often with your support champion, they just sit in your hand anyways, and you often don't really want to play them. You just focus on playing your main champion. And that's pretty much going to happen here with Vi as well. But later on in the game, you're like, man, I'm actually struggling to maybe end this. I have my support champ that's just been sitting here the entire game. I can now drop them and they're going to have 10 impact. That can really change the game. So I think this actually is a pretty good upgrade for your support champions. It's not going to come into play fairly often because you normally don't play your support champion that often with most champions. But when it does, it'll really help you out. And then the Gotcha having Charging Sigil for a little bit of extra damage. Pretty boring, to be honest. But these two are quite nice. So followers you acquire that cost 4 or more have Ancient Coin. Helpful for just trying to make sure everything you have costs less because you want to be as spammy as possible. But then here, Mushroom Cloud has Mana Potion. This is actually a pretty fun one because now you can try to generate these Mushroom Clouds with several different cards because you know you're always getting a free card to play if you're able to do that. So definitely not quite as interesting as the Caitlyn ones, but still quite solid. Overall, I think both Caitlyn and Vi are great additions to the game. Yes, Vi was already part of the game, but I really like how they updated her, brought up her constellation, and adjusted her star powers because her star powers were pretty rough before. And I think they did a genius job of keeping the whole theme of those star powers intact and just tweaking them slightly, but that change actually having a massive impact. One other thing I want to shout out for the developers is they have been listening to the community. One thing a lot of people complained was that when you got through your first 3 stars, the next node was your 4th star power that was just blocking the rest of the constellation. So if you didn't have the star crystals, you couldn't upgrade the champion. Well, here for both Caitlyn and Vi, they've listened. So you see here, after you get your 3rd star power, you come up, just a normal Star of Bounty, doesn't take any star crystals. Your 4th star is actually over here, out of the way, and your 5th star is all the way over here. So very much out of the way. Your 6th star all the way over here. You really have to be going out of your way to try to get these powers, and they're not blocking anything for you. But you can get them pretty easily when you want. So that is absolutely fantastic. And if we look at Caitlyn, it's much the same. So your 1st star is right here, your 2nd, and then actually from your 2nd star power, you can then go down, get your 4th or 5th star. But if you go up to your 3rd star power, you can then move on and just get your Star of Bounty and keep moving through your constellation. So I think Riot really is listening to people's concerns and adjusting the constellations moving forward so you're no longer feeling blocked in your path that you choose. I'll say they also did this with Jace as well, making it so you could easily path around the entire constellation and then choose when you actually wanted to get your actual star powers of your 4, 5, and 6 and not have to deal with those blocking off other avenues for you. Overall, I think this is a very good patch. They also brought back Starforged Gauntlets. Now, they still need to make this available for people to earn in-game. That is something that they said they were going to do, especially with all of the current relics that are only available for real money. They've said that that is happening in the future later this year, so we still need to hold them to that. But it is nice that they have made Starforged Gauntlets again available so that if this was something you wanted to buy, it is once again available. But I think both the champions they added are very good. Both of their epic relics are quite solid and great additions to the game. I do think they probably want to be a little bit careful with the Caitlyn relic, as I think it's getting a little bit close to being too powerful and feeling a little bit too mandatory for the champion. Because while we want their relics in their bundle to be fun and great with the champion, we never want to feel like the champion needs their relic in order to function. And overall, all the other relics I think are great additions to the game. Obviously, I haven't been able to test all of them out, but looking at them, they seem like they'll fulfill so many different functions and roles, and I think every champion in the game is going to be able to have a new build with one of those epic relics. Overall, I think it's another solid patch, and to be honest, I think every single patch that we've gotten since the game switched over to focusing on Path of Champions has been excellent. That's just my thoughts on it though. Definitely let me know in the comments down below. I hope you all have a great rest of your day.